Last time we were together, we finished chapter 2, and so now we're going to move on into chapter 3 of Habakkuk. And we're going to camp out on the first 2 verses there, so you can follow along with me as I read for us in Habakkuk chapter 3, starting at verse 1. A prayer of Habakkuk, the prophet, according to Shigionoth. I practiced that. I'm serious. And I still don't know if I said it. Lord, I have heard the report about you, and I fear. O Lord, revive your work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, make it known. In wrath, remember mercy. Would you pray with me one more time, brothers and sisters? Father, you are God. We believe in the godness of God, that there is no one like you, none to whom we can compare you, none to whom we can liken you. You are altogether different. You are set apart. You are transcendent, God. You are unique, unique, unique. And we worship you. And Father, as we continue to worship you now by sitting under the teaching of your word, Holy Spirit, would you continue to do something supernatural? Would you convict your people with your word of both sin and righteousness, of the holiness of God, of the love and the grace of God, of the power of God? Holy Spirit, would you please do that as we meditate on what it is that you have for your people? Would you give us ears to hear? Would you give us eyes to see? Would you give us hearts of humility, set in a posture to say, whatever you say, we will do. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, brothers and sisters, last time we were together, we looked at the end of chapter 2, in which Habakkuk was given God's second response to Habakkuk's second objection, right? Here it is right here. We don't need to go super in depth, right? But here's the flow of the book in this unique writing where the prophet is not actually just delivering a message to the people, but he's having a dialogue with God, right? And he says in so many words, God, why aren't you doing something? What a bold question, right? I mean, I thought about this more in light of the context here, and I want you guys to follow me for just a moment. Habakkuk asks a question that the community of faith normally would say is a no-no, right? We're just supposed to just accept the traditions and the teachings and just move on, right? It is what it is and move forward. But even though you have those genuine sentiments and those feelings, you're not supposed to ask God. You're not supposed to question God about these things, right? But here's a righteous man who's a man. He's a human. He's feeble. He's frail. And he's living in the consequences of a fallenness, both in the world abroad, but even in the community of faith that exists in Judah. And he says, God, if I see this, I know you see this. This is bad. Both the surrounding empire of the Assyrians are oppressing your people, but your people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And Judah's just going to follow suit with the northern kingdom of Israel. And God, you got to do something about the sin that is going on in the community of faith. Right? And God responds graciously, right? He graciously responds to a righteous man's honest, ugly prayers. Right? He responds by saying, Habakkuk, I am doing something. You know why I'm doing something? Habakkuk, I'm always doing something. Habakkuk, I'm always at work. I don't take days off. I am working all things together, Habakkuk. You got to know that. And here, let me give you a little bit of insight. Let me give you some revelation, some specific revelation about what's going to take place in the future. I'm raising up the Chaldeans, the Babylonians, to come and to bring judgment to my people, right? So Habakkuk here's this revelation of God in which God says, hey, I know it's bad. I agree with you. I'm going to do something about it. I'm doing something. I was already doing something about it before you even asked me about it, right? Then Habakkuk says, well, why are you doing that? Why are you using more wicked people to bring judgment on your people who are wicked, but not as wicked as them? I mean, they're believers, they're not believers, and you're using non-believers to punish believers. It should be the other way around, right? So how does God respond to that? Because what is Habakkuk doing here, essentially? Another no-no.
Question.
What's he questioning? God's his methods. He's questioning God's methods, right? God, I wouldn't do that. Why would you do that? Right? We talked about that on Sunday, right? People giving God advice. Yes. God, this is what I would do if I were you, right? So he says, why are you doing that? Another no-no. And God, because he considers Habakkuk being a righteous man, has a zeal for the things of God, and understands that Habakkuk is just a man. He's a man, he's feeble, he's frail, right? In the midst of that, he says, Habakkuk, I agree with you that the Babylonians, that the Chaldeans are a wicked people, right? And then what does God proceed to do? He gives them more revelation, more specific revelation. He gives them another prophecy. This time, not of the Babylonians coming to overtake Judah, but that ultimately the Babylonians will also be judged. Right? That's how the chapter ended. Right? So guys, just track with me real quick. Just track with me in this thought process. God, when people are being bad, why aren't you doing something about it? I am doing something about it. I'm bringing the big bully on the block to beat him up. Well, why are you choosing them? Because they're bullies. They're bad bullies. Why are you doing that? You're right. I'm going to beat them up too. That's the end of chapter 2. Now we get to chapter 3. It gets a little more confusing. Let's look at it more closely. Chapter 3, verse 1. A prayer of Habakkuk. Hold on. That sounds weird. It's not consistent with the flow thus far. It's like a different type of writing here, right? It says prayer, it can actually say hymn, like a hymn, like a song, right? It can actually be that because it takes on the form of a song, right? A psalm, like in the book of Psalms. It takes on the form of a song. And this is a superscription or a heading to a song, right? A prayer, but it's considered a prayer even though it's in the form of a song, which is awesome because what that tells us is that we can pray through the Psalms, right? So he says a prayer of Habakkuk the prophet, according to that word, which those who know the language of Hebrew, I'm not one of them, don't know the meaning of it. But what they can deduce from history, from language, and from the biblical context abroad, is that this word is related to music, right? It's either saying that it's an instrument that's supposed to accompany this writing, or it's talking about a poetic form or structure that this song, this hymn, this prayer is going to follow. Either way, it's related to music. Okay? So that tells you right there that this is now taking on a form of a song. So Habakkuk's response to all this jazz is a prayer in the form of a song. Okay. So what is the content of this prayerful song that Habakkuk provides for us? Look at what he says. Lord, I have heard the report about you, and I fear. I'm confused. I'm already confused. I'm confused that Habakkuk's response to this is not another objection. God, this still doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. Let me ask you the question that I asked myself as I transitioned, followed the logical flow of the book of Habakkuk and got to chapter 3. You ready? Let me ask you the same question that I asked myself. Ready? How is God's response to Habakkuk's second objection? This is God's response, right? How is Habakkuk's response, which would be his third response, right? How is Habakkuk's response now, how is it logically and emotionally satisfying? What God says in response to Habakkuk's question, how does this right here? How many of you are satisfied with this being God's answer? God's answer. Just think about it, right?
Basically, he's saying they're not going to get away with it.
Yeah, but hold on. The Babylonians aren't going to get away with it, right? So that leads me, just being a thinker here, that leads me to question, how aren't the Babylonians going to get away with it?
He realizes what he hears is that God is absolutely terrified and he's able to back up what he's promising.
That he's able to back up what he's promising. Yes, okay, you're getting there, Mike. You're getting there. You've jumped to where Habakkuk is in chapter 3. I'm not there yet. You're smarter than me. You just perceive it. You got it. You got it. He's focused on what you just focused on. God. I'm focused on logistics. You're focused on, and Habakkuk's focused on, God. But I'm sitting here saying, yeah, yes, he did. All right, you guys are like trying to convince me right now. I like that. But here's the problem. He told them twice, right? But how did he tell them? Judah's being bad. I'm going to raise up the Babylonians. Okay, well, the Babylonians are bad, God. What are you going to do? Well, I'm gonna punish them too. What question does that lead me to ask? How are you going to do that? With who? Right? And then, once you answer that question, whoever that is, I don't know, maybe the Medo-Persian Empire or the Greeks, right? Okay, cool. So are they more righteous than the Babylonians? No, they're not. They're at least just as wicked as the Babylonians. Okay, so now how are you going to punish the Medo-Persians? Well, we're going to raise up the Greeks. Okay, are the Greeks more righteous than that? No. Okay, then we'll raise up the Romans. Okay, do you guys see what's happening? How does this appease your logic? It doesn't appease my logic. Do you see the dilemma? It just seems like God is saying, I'm going to punish this person with this person, and then raise up this person to punish that person, and raise up that person. It's just a vicious cycles. And you know what's happening in the midst of that? God's people who are small now and not strong with a military able to defend themselves, they're just like a ping pong between these empires. Just getting punished in between, right? Every empire that comes along, the new bully on the block, is beating up Israel along the way in their fight to beat up whoever has the throne. Do you guys see that? How does this satisfy you? And how do we get from here to chapter 3, verse 2. How did we get there? I'm not satisfied. I'm scratching my head like, God, what is any of this solving? Are you guys with, at least with me in what I'm saying? Do you understand my own personal problem with this?
To go back and state on verse to say, God has told me, okay, God. He said twice, it's like your mother, you need to do it twice. That's
Yeah.
Okay? God said, I got this.
I'm with it. And even in that situation, Liz, if God says he's got it,
He's got it.
I'm going to believe it, right? Yeah, I can believe that. But I'm still questioning in my head. God, I'm not that smart, but I just see a vicious cycle.
They've moved out of the will of God, and now they're subject to the same judgment as the rest of the world. There is no mercy, there is no grace, and there is, you were just at the will of someone. You'll end up short of this.
Absolutely, absolutely. That actually answers a bigger question, right? Is God playing favorites? If Israel is sinning, if God's people are sinning just like the world is sinning, is God going to be unfair? No. And Habakkuk doesn't expect him to be. You're absolutely right, Maria. But he's embraced what you just said, that concept. Habakkuk embraced that here, right? It's because he says, Judah's misrepresenting you, God. They're not honoring you, they're not honoring your word, they're not honoring your law. Why aren't you doing something about it? You need to spare your people, God. Right? So he's with you on that. But he accepted that here when he even asks the question. My question, my dilemma is, why is it that God's answer just seems to not really be resolving the issue if we take one step back? It's just, all right, your rook took the pawn, now your bishop takes the rook, and like, what's going on? Like, God, I don't see how you're bringing conflict resolution. What's the conflict?
He has this bigger picture that, who is this that can possibly rise up an entire nation to overtake them, and another nation to rise up against them? Who is God? If he can cause all that to happen in majesty of God, yes, I'm going to fear God.
Absolutely. And that's where I like it. I get it. And even in the midst of that, just like, hey, all right. When you say you can do something, I'm not doubting that you can do something. God said it. I believe it. That settles it. That's not resolving the tension that what seems to be happening with human history is that nations rise, nations fall. How is any of that moving us progressively? That's my question.
We don't.
You're going back to, that's where I was going back to the original, what is the situation, what is it about this question? Are Israel people, are his people? Each time this occurs, you're telling me that, someone else. I don't know what is down the future, but what I presume is the Israelites are getting stronger with the response to the Lord. That they know that he has the power, and this is what they have to do, despite all this other stuff that's going on.
Yeah, Skip, that's a good thought. The problem is, the exact opposite is actually what's happening. What happened when Israel's kings didn't acknowledge the Lord? What happened to Israel, the northern kingdom, the 10 tribes that made up the northern kingdom? What happened to them? They went into exile. What do we know about the Bible and what eventually happens to the kingdom of Judah?
Exile.
They go into exile too. So it's actually, so when you say they're getting stronger with the revelation that God is in control of all things, nope, they're not getting stronger. God, they went from a nation with prestige under King David and King Solomon, right? to a divided kingdom. The northern kingdom is exiled, kicked out of the promised land, and now the southern kingdom about to be exiled too. God just said it. He's raising up the Chaldeans to punish his people. We read the book of Daniel. Where are the people of God? They're in Babylon, which is not the promised land. They were overtaken and exiled.
Isn't God saying to him, just watch me?
He is saying that, Miss Pearl.
He's got-
He is saying that. You're absolutely right. That's been established, guys. I'm with you. And I think what Habakkuk is saying is that he in his personal self has resolved to resign to the power of God.
Yes.
Yes, you guys are absolutely right. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying, as an individual who's watching God work, God, how is this solving anything?
It's not very encouraging.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, Israel's bad, you're going to spank them, you're going to spank the people who spank them, you're going to bring somebody up to spank them. Where is the conflict resolution as human history unfolds?
God keeps hoping people are going to be turning to Him.
Mm-hmm.
He keeps punishing Israel, and then when they don't turn to Him, when they do turn to Him, He restores them and helps them and keeps His promises, and then they keep turning against Him again.
Yes.
And so it's a cycle of that. So maybe it's He's giving people the opportunity to turn to Him, and they don't do it.
Yes, absolutely. Which only adds another vicious cycle. Because you have nations rising and nations falling. Godless nations, pagan nations, Gentile nations rising and falling. Then we see in the community of faith, the book of Judges. They obey God, God blesses them. When they're blessed, they start to forget about God because of their blessings, because of their prosperity. Then they fall into sin and idolatry, and then other nations come in and overtake them, and then it sobers them up, and they cry out to God. And what does God do? God raises up a leader as a judge, a hero, a Christ type to rescue them, and then they're prosperous again. And then what happens in their position of prosperity? They forget about God again. So now, what you just enlightened us to is that there's two vicious cycles. Within the Gentile community and within the Jewish community of faith. That's where we are. All right, ready? Can I tell you how the text is resolved? Yeah, ultimately, you got it. Very good, Carol. All right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to look back at verse 14. Look back at verse 14 of chapter 2. The earth will be filled. What tense is the verb? Future. The earth will be, in the future, will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord, as the waters cover the seas. Right? Okay. Look at verse 20, the last verse of chapter 2. But the Lord is in His holy temple. What did we identify as the holy temple last time we studied? Heaven. Heaven is the holy temple. The Lord is in His holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before Him. This is what I want you to understand. Two things. In those two verses, we have two concepts. The concept of future and the concept of global. Not just Israel, but the entire earth. Not just one nation, but all the nations in the future, right? The knowledge of the Lord will fill the earth, and all the earth is silent before God now in light of that revelation. So here's how the tension is resolved. Though what we see is patterns and a paradigm of how history happens, right? Nations rise and nations fall. But what the scriptures teach us, you ready? Is that history is not cyclical. of behavior of humans are cyclical, right? That's how Satan works. That's how he trips us up, right? He knows the things that human beings play on, the things that will trip them up, that will tempt them, right? He knows those things, and he does those things. And we forget, and then we remember when we face the consequences of our sins, and then we repent, and then we turn back to God, and then we walk with God a little while until we see a squirrel, and then we chase the squirrel. Right? That's a pattern of human behavior. But history is not cyclical. History, according to the Bible, is linear. You get that? Here's what this means. As human history unfolds, it's moving towards a culmination. Though we see nations rise and nations fall, all of that is moving progressively towards God's final solution, which is Jesus. And even more than Jesus, it's the fullest expression, which is what we find in the book of Revelation. When behold, he makes all things new. A new heaven and a new earth. So human history, listen guys, human history is on a timeline. And so when God says to Habakkuk, you're right, yep. So that nation's going to fall. And I'm going to use this nation to cause that nation to fall. And then I'm going to bring another nation in to cause that nation to fall. And while we're sitting here saying, how's that solve anything? What's happening is God's saying, we're getting closer to the end. You guys understand? And the promises that we find right here in verse 14 is that God will do this at some point. When all the people on earth will know him. Do you get that? Now, in light of that, wherever you find yourself in the timeline of human history, knowing that nations rise and nations fall, what is your responsibility? Ready? Habakkuk 2:4. What does Habakkuk 2:4 say? One more time, read it.
The just shall live by faith.
The just shall live by faith. The righteous will live by faith. Those who will be saved and enjoy the end are those who are in the present, in the pattern of human behavior of nations rising and falling, those people who take God at his word. Your job in that timeline as it unfolds is to trust God and to walk with God while he is bringing about the end. You guys see that? That resolves the tension. That makes sense to me now. And now I can join Habakkuk right here. Because when he says, the just and the righteous shall live by faith, now, okay, what am I supposed to be believing in God? That ultimately you're going to do something. Right? Now, what do I do in the present in order to walk by faith? What do I do? Now, what Habakkuk says has so much more meaning. Let's look at it again. What's he say? He says, Lord, I have heard the report about you, and I fear. So what does Habakkuk do now in light of him saying what all of you said, and all of you were right? God told him twice, I got this. I got this. So in your life now, where you are on the timeline, being an American, where communism is cool again, right? We forgot about Stalin and Lenin and Mao Zedong. We forgot about that because now we all get free social, universal health care, right? Until none of us actually get cared for. Scary times, right? How quickly we forget the past. And we reinvent the past, and we re-envision the past and say, communism is good, and socialism is communism because we put the word democratic in front of it, right? Excuse me, I'm being What does Habakkuk do? Habakkuk stops and he says, okay, God, I see what you're saying. What you're saying is you got this. All this summed up, who said it? I got this. God is saying, Habakkuk, I got this. So how does Habakkuk respond? In a prayerful psalm where he says, Lord, I recall to mind your reputation. Did you hear that, guys? Listen to what I'm saying. He says, I've heard the report of your faith. God, the things that you did that made you famous. What made God famous? I'll give you, there's too much to actually to summarize what made God famous, but I want you to flip over to the book of Deuteronomy. That's one of my favorite passages because there's so many just basic truths in it that are communicated through it. And I just want to read Deuteronomy chapter 4. This is Moses now, right? Moses is with the people of Israel and they're about to go into the promised land, but Moses can't go with them, right? Because of his own sin and shortcoming and failure. He can't go with them, so he's giving them a pep talk before they go into the promised land. And part of what he says is, hey, there is danger in prosperity. The danger is that you'll forget about God. You become confident in your own abilities and in your stuff and in your comfort, right? We should take note of that, living in the most blessed nation in the world, right? We should take note of that. But one of the things that Moses does in order to prepare them to go into the promised land, he gives them a history lesson. He says, let me remind you of how you got right here, right now. Now look at what he does. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 32, he says, indeed, ask now concerning the former days, which were before you, since the day that God created man on the earth. Listen what he's saying. Moses is saying, ask around. Ask around the nations. Ask around and see if anything that you've experienced has happened to anybody else from the time God made Adam. He goes on and he says, since the day that God created man on the earth and inquired from one end of the earth to the other, ask around, has anything been done like this great thing, or has anything been heard like it? You guys ever heard anything like this before? Where you are right now, standing on the precipice of entering into the promised land, going to conquer all that live in that land and take it over, enjoying houses that you didn't build, wells that you didn't dig, and farms that you didn't plant. Anything? Ever heard anything like that? He goes on in more detail, verse 33. Has any people heard the voice of God speaking from the midst of fire as you have heard and survived? Can somebody make me so proud? So proud. You will make me leap for joy. My cup will overflow. Look back at verse 33 and tell me what concept is being communicated. What concept?
When they received 10 commandments.
Okay, yes, that's part of it. What concept, what broad concept is being referred to here? Okay, God speaking. What do we call it when God speaks to humanity? Revelation. Simply put right here, God said, does any other nation receive specific revelation? That's a rhetorical question. What's the answer? No. That's what makes Israel God's people. God has spoken. Yeah. That's verse 33. Verse 34. Or has a God tried to take for himself one nation from within another nation by trials, by signs and wonders, and by war, by a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, and with great terrors, as the Lord your God, Yahweh, did for you in Egypt before your eyes. What is Moses reminding Israel of in verse 34? Yeah. What's that called? What's that whole event called? The Exodus. He's referring to Exodus. Well, what is Moses doing? He's recounting the reputation of their God. He reminds you of who you are covenanting with. You guys weren't there, but this is how you got here. Your parents and your parents' parents and your parents' parents' parents. They walked with God because God spoke to them. And God did miracle after miracle after miracle, showing favor upon favor upon favor for you to be right. He goes on, verse 35. To you it has been shown that you might know. Listen, the rest of the Gentile world does not know what they know. What do they know? To you it has been shown that you might know that whenever we see in the scriptures the word Lord, Adonai, what's really there? What's really supposed to be there in the original language? Yahweh, the covenant name of God, by which he revealed himself to Moses. I am that I am who I am, the existing one, the only God. Right? So what do they know that others don't? That you might know that Yahweh, Adonai, the Lord, he is God, and what? There's only one God. The rest of the nations all fell under the category of what? Polytheistic. They all believed in many gods. Because they looked around at creation and started worshiping creation. The sun, the moon, the stars, the animals, the birds, the trees, they worshiped anything and everything because they were made to worship. But they didn't know the Creator specifically. Israel did because they received special revelation. Verse 36. Out of the heavens, he lets you hear his voice to discipline you. And on earth, he lets you see his great fire. And you heard his words from the midst of the fire. Because he loved your fathers, therefore he chose their descendants after them. What does that tell you? None of them are in the community of faith because they're better than the Gentiles. What made them fortunate? They're the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. How many of them worked really hard to be of Hebrew descent? No. You guys get the concept of grace there? In the Old Testament? He says, and he personally brought you from Egypt by his great power, driving out from before you nations greater and mightier than you, to bring you in and to give you their land for an inheritance as it is today. That's what's about to happen as they're standing outside of the promised land, about to invade. Verse 39, know therefore today and take it to your heart that the Lord, he is God, in heaven above and on earth below. There is no other. So you shall keep his statutes and his commandments, which I am giving you today, that it may go well with you and with your children after you, and that you may live long in the land which the Lord, your God, is giving you for all time. You guys hear that history lesson? Moses is recounting what God did specifically for them. Now go back to the back. Go back to the back. Verse 2. Lord, I have heard the report about you. What did he hear? Everything Moses just said. That the God who created the world chose them and miraculously brought them out of slavery and is now going to take them into the promised land. What does that tell you about God? Mercy. He's sovereign. He's powerful. He's terrifying. Somebody already said it. He's terrifying. He's powerful. What did Rahab say to the spies when they came into Jericho? we heard about your God. What did Rahab do? She said, I'll help you if you remember me and my family, because I know that your God is more powerful than any other God. He's terrifying. Look at what he did. He controls the weather. He can move mountains. He can rescue an insignificant group of people out of the power of the most powerful military on the earth. He's terrifying. He's powerful. He's sovereign. So Habakkuk says, I've heard of your faith. I've heard of your reputation. What's his response?
I stand in awe of you.
I stand in awe of you. What does that word all mean? Fear and terror. That's what my version says. And I fear. He recounts to mind that God is powerful and he trembles. What did God just tell him? I'm working. What happened to Israel wasn't unique. Same thing's going to happen to Judah. And then the people that I use as my instruments to discipline my chosen people, I'm going to wipe them off the map too. So God, you just over here juggling nations, causing nations to rise and nations to fall. You're just controlling human history, God? Okay. Look what he says right after that. I will revive, oh Lord, revive your work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, make it known. Before we unpack that, I want to ask you guys this question. Write this down. The first question we ask is, how is God's response to Habakkuk's objection logically and emotionally satisfied? Right? The answer is that history is linear and that God is moving all of history to a point. Right? The second question I want to ask you, in light of what Habakkuk states here in his address, in his prayer, is this. What do you do when God's answer to your pleading is not personally preferable? Listen to the question. What do you do when God's answer to your pleading? When you're, think about those times when you're like, you pleaded with God. The times you were pleading with God, what were the circumstances surrounding your fervent pleading prayers?
God told me that was part of the problem.
Yeah. Well, that was God's answer, right? That was God's answer to you, Miss Pearl?
Yes.
But what was the circumstance that caused you to constantly, consistently plead before the throne of God? Huh? No, what described the circumstances?
I was in a problem.
There was a problem. There was a problem going on. Somebody's health, your health, right? Circumstances, legal situation, financial struggles, whatever it is, you were pleading, right? Something bad is going on, and that's what caused Habakkuk to pray and ask God a question that we shouldn't ask God, right? There was a lot of pain going on, a lot of suffering going on because of the injustice in Judah. And so he pleads with God. He says, God, I want you to do something. And God's answer, I am doing something, leads Habakkuk to say, but I don't like that you're doing that. Right? So here's my question to you. What do you do when God's answer to your pleading is not personally preferable? Trust. When God says, I know about your pain. What you're informing me of, when you told me what the doctor said, when you told me what the bank account statement said, when you were informing me of all the details that I already knew about, yeah, I know about them. And this is the course that I've set for you. What do you say? Can I take a look? Huh?
Why are you doing that?
Yeah, right, yeah. That's what he's saying. But what happens when God makes it you that this is the path that he has for you.
You live with it.
You live with it. But this is what you say. You say what Jesus said. Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass from me. That was Jesus pleading in the dark day of his soul, right? His soul was in anguish in that moment, right? Understanding he's about to be the sin bearer. He prays and he says, Father, is there any other way? What's God's answer to him? No. I mean, Jesus says in John 20, he's what am I saying? This is the purpose for which you sent me, right? And what does he say? Yet not my will, but yours be done. How do you respond to God's answer to your pleading when it's not preferred? When God says, I know you're sick, you're going to be sick for a while. When God says, I know you're in that season, get comfortable in that season. How do you respond to that? How do you respond to that, brothers and sisters? That's what I want you to ask, because that's what Habakkuk is dealing with, because he sees sin and he sees what God is doing, and it's not how he would address it, but how does he respond? With prayer. God, I'm focused on you. I'm focused on who you say you are. Okay. If your answer to your child who says, Dad, this is hurting, if his answer is, rub some dirt on it, or you'll be all right, or we're going to get through this, how do you respond? How do you respond to that? The right thing to do is what Habakkuk does right here. He remembers God's reputation. He says, God, I've heard a report about you. But it makes the truth. Now, you said you got this. You're smarter than me. You got it all planned out. Okay. Wait. You're not going to abandon me. You didn't abandon Abraham. You didn't abandon Isaac or Jacob or Judah. You didn't even abandon your people when they were a stiff-necked people. Stubborn, rebellious, defiant. You've always been faithful to what you said you would do. You're powerful enough to do what you say. How do you respond? I just want to say this again, brothers and sisters. We've said this before, and I want you to write it down if you didn't before. See, human beings put God on the dock, and they judge God's justice in the short term. In the short term. Right? That's exactly what Micah did, or Habakkuk did right here. He says in Habakkuk 1:13, he says, God, you can't even look on evil. Your eyes are too pure to even look on evil. This seems inconsistent with you saying that you're a just God. God, what are you doing? And what's his answer? Give it some time. That's his answer. Give it some time because I've got something else going on. And then when he says, why do you got that going on? He says, give it some time. Because in the future, the whole earth will be filled with the knowledge of the Lord. I'm in my temple, my holy temple. Be silent before me. Do you guys get that? When God makes it clear to you that the season you're in is the season you're in, he knows it. How do you respond? Here's the third question I'm going to ask. How should God's answer affect the direction of your prayers when he makes it clear? Okay, so you're praying, God, take me out of this situation. God, take me out of this season. God, I don't like what's going on. God, this is not preferable. God, help me out here. God, throw me a bone. God, let me inform you of the pain, the suffering, the torment that I'm going through. God. And God says, yeah, I'm well aware of that. I'm working on this. Well, can you speed it up? Right? If God says, I know, and where you are is where I have you, how should that then affect your prayers? How should that affect the direction of your prayers? Look at what Habakkuk does. The second part of verse 2. O Lord, revive your work in the midst of the years. What's he saying there? What he's saying is, do great works today. Right now. God, revive. What does it mean to revive? Viva. Life, live, revive, life. Live again. Bring to life again. What does he say? God, I've read the report of your fame. You did amazing things for the people of God. What's his prayer now?
Continue.
Do it now. Do great things. God, be working now. But he already told him that he is. So what is Habakkuk saying in essence when he says, revive your works in the midst of the years, make it known? What's he saying? This is what he's saying. Do what you're going to do. Go ahead. Do it. You just told me you were going to do this? And that's going to be a miraculous work. Now think back to when you did miraculous works. You can do it. Do it again. Do you hear what Habakkuk does? He pleads for God to do something. God says, I'm going to do something. And then he aligns his prayers to what God's agenda is. He aligns his prayers to what God's agenda is. So this is what he does. He says, when my personal preference does not line up with your plan, what goes out the window? My personal preference. Okay, God. I got to pray different. Now I'm praying that you rise up the Babylonians. And I'm praying that after they come and devastate people, you read the book of Jeremiah, or read the book of Lamentation, and you see when Babylonians come in and just ransack Israel, he's just weeping. That's why he's called the weeping prophet. Because he witnesses what God told Habakkuk would happen. And Israel, or Judah, is leveled. The place of worship is destroyed. And he weeps. Right? Habakkuk says, if that's your will, Lord, do it. But in the midst of that, last clause, in wrath, remember mercy. That's his caveat. That's his. All right, God, you gonna do? All right, I'm lining up. I'm with you, God. All right, go Babylonian. All right, I'm with you, God. Go Chaldean. All right, but God, in your justice, in your anger, in your wrath, and bringing judgment on your defiant people, don't forget about your mercy, Lord. Don't forget about your mercy. Why does he say that? He says that because Judah is the ones that are going to be punished for their sins. He says, God, don't wipe out the people completely, even though they're deserving. Be merciful, because this is going to hurt. Right? Do you guys get that, what he's saying? In him embracing God's agenda and saying, all right, God, that's not what I prefer, but if that's what you're going to do, then do it. But be merciful to your people. In your justice, don't forget your mercy. You know what that reminds me of? The book of Micah, where there were 3 cycles in the book of Micah where it was about God's judgment and his salvation. You guys remember that? Do you remember that principle that emerged from that? God's justice is never absent of his mercy. What is Michael praying? That God would be God. That God would be God. Because God, in exacting his justice, always is merciful. Do you see that? See how Micah, or how Habakkuk, he calls, once God answers, and he says, all right, God, you got a plan that's going to culminate, it's going to bring about something. Okay, I remember who you are, and I know that you can do that. You can bring that to pass. And God, do it. Just be merciful. Merciful to you. God, be God, and do your thing, God. And what should we do in the process? Live by faith. As God does with us, our job is to do that. Amen? We can learn a lot from what Habakkuk says in just the beginning of his prayer song. A lot to think about. Let's pray together. Father, I'll be the first in line to confess that I get angry, that I get frustrated, that I become ungrateful and discontent with all of the favor that you have shown to us. Father, I pray that whenever we get to a point where we plead with you, and your answer is, I got it, so trust me. Help us to trust you. Help us to align our desires with your perfect plan. Help us to just resign to the reality of who you are and to trust in you, knowing that you work all things together for the good of those who love you. Help us to love you and to trust you and to live by faith in this corrupt, perverted, fallen world. And use us to be a light in the midst of it. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.